Welcome to episode 23 of the Brooklyn Knitfolk podcast. My name is Jacqueline. You can find me on Instagram, Ravelry, Pinterest as @JacquelineSalem. Show notes for this podcast can be found on the Brooklyn Knitfolk Ravelry group under the groups tab on Ravelry. And this is a podcast about mostly knitting, sewing now, and just my generally crafty life and the things that I get up to. Thank you so much for joining me today. Thank you to all returning viewers who continue to watch this podcast, and for all new viewers who are just checking me out for the first time. The subscribers number has changed quite a bit recently, so that is an indication that you're finding me for the first time, so I hope that you like what you see. Oh my gosh, my cat is determined to knock over my setup. One quick second. Okay. This is Mika, by the way. She's my little sweetheart. This week I want to give an extra special welcome to Getting Knitty, Tall Polish Girl, MB Shanley, CDP Viola, Boobs Radley, Britannica 95, and Auntie Joe. Thank you so much for introducing yourselves in the Ravelry group, and hello and welcome. And I hope you guys have fun with the Ravelry group and the Elementalong, which is going right now, which so many of you are participating in. It's so fun to see all of these finished objects showing up in the finished objects thread on Ravelry. If you haven't heard of it, I'm hosting the Elementalong. It's a knit-along inspired by the Sweep series, a young adult series by Kate Tiernan. You are under no obligation to read the books. If you want to knit any of the patterns, please feel free. We still have 2 more weeks left of the knit-along, so that's plenty of time to bust out at least a hat or a shawlette or one of the mittens patterns even. I myself am knitting the Woodland Tales mittens, which is a pattern by Mandarines. So please come join us, and be sure to post your finished objects in the finished objects thread if you haven't already, because I will be drawing for prizes. There are so many prizes, you guys, and they're all so good. So please make sure that you post there. I'll be giving prizes for participation in the chatter thread, which has been amazing to see all of you guys helping each other and cheering each other on and asking questions, so I'm loving it. So I'm really excited about the Elementalong. It seems like all of you guys have been really enjoying it, so I'm happy about that. And I wanted to mention one additional new prize that came in this week. I know there's another on the way, but I don't want to mention and show prizes until I physically have received it. But this one's a pattern prize. It was donated by Charlotte, who has the Charlotte and Guest Knitting podcast, and it's the Bendy Arrow shawl. So I'll put in a picture of that here for you to look at. It's a really pretty shawl pattern, very striped, very versatile, I think, to wear with lots of stuff. So I myself can't wait to make that and have added that to my queue. So that's another pattern that's up for grabs as part of the knit-along. One other announcement before we get into FOs and whips. Excitingly, I have been selected to be one of the reps for Sucre Sucre Miniatures. So if you guys haven't seen or heard of Sucre Sucre Miniatures, or if you haven't ordered yet, now is definitely the time to check it out, because I can get everybody a 15% discount now. So there are these really cute food miniatures. I'll put in some pictures here of some of my favorites and some of the cute like Halloween ones that she has right now. But they're so cool and lifelike, you guys. I have actually not purchased them myself. I've just been admiring from afar. So this was like that last push that I needed to finally go get some. So I've ordered some and they're on the way. I got the croissant and the iced coffee, so I can't wait to use those. But if you're interested in getting some of those, there is a thread up in my Ravelry group. It's called Sucre Sucre something. It says Sucre Sucre something on there. And there's a link for first-time buyers, and then there's also a link for returning customers. So you can use both of those things to get 15% off of your orders. So if you love her stuff as much as I do, or you've been wanting to try it, go and get in on that discount and enjoy the Sucre Sucre miniatures. I love promoting stuff that you guys make. That's why we're here, right? Is to share in all of the cool stuff that we're doing. So with that, I guess we'll get right into the show and into finished objects. And as you can see, if you are a returning viewer, I'm wearing one. This is the Exploration Station by Stephen West. Now it's not blocked. All the ends are woven in, but it's not blocked yet. So it's not 100% finished object. But I wanted to show it to you guys so that you could see what it looked like before, because I wouldn't have enough time to block it before showing you guys. Isn't it so cool? Oh, I love how this turned out. I love, love, love it. So again, Exploration Station by Stephen West. The yarns I've used, which I've gone over a million times, but for just one last time, I use Skeiny Dipping in the Light Hearth colorway. It's easier to see it from right here. The Light Hearth colorway. Woolen Vine yarns in Venus Flytrap is the dark green. Woolen Vine yarns in Succulents is the lighter green. And Hedgehog Fibers in Urchin is this speckly color here. So I love it. I think it's an amazing size. It is probably exactly at my wingspan, just a touch larger, pre-blocked. So I know this is going to end up being pretty big. And I do have to say, I did end up going with the edging for the last section that is called for in the pattern. I debated for a little bit on whether or not to do that. I thought maybe I'll do a garter edge, but at the end I just decided to go ahead and go for it. It was Kristen from the Yarngasm podcast. I saw her finished object of Exploration Station. I really liked how it turned out, so I figured I may as well go for it. I have to say, I really do think Stephen West patterns are great for beginners. My first shawl ever was a Stephen West pattern. It was the Doodler last year. And I think that his patterns are really clear and easy to follow. And I always learn some sort of little new trick, tip, or technique along the way. So for this one, for example, I learned brioche. And then at the end here, I thought that I learned a lot actually by doing this edging here. So this wavy edge of the second to last section, where there's stripes in it here, is created because of slip one, knit two together, pass over stitch, which creates this kind of ridge that draws it in, and that's what creates the ridges in the pattern. And I would have never known. I mean, I saw that and I was like, I wonder how that's done, but I learned something new by doing this. So, and with the Doodler, I learned how to do a cable. So, like I said, every single pattern I've knit of his, I learned something new. This is my third one now. I think I'm Stephen West out for a little while. I'm not participating in his mystery knit along this year, although it does look really cool. So I'm just excited to look through the hashtags and see what all of you guys are making with that, because it's a really cool construction. I like the geometric design of it. I really love geometric patterns myself. So anyway, that's Exploration Station for you. Ooh, yarns are flying. Speaking of which, this this shawl leaves a ton of yarn left over. Like, there is 50 grams minimum. Oh, that's not. I don't know where the other one went right now, but there's 50 grams of each of these left over. So I have like basically 200 grams, 2 skeins worth of yarn left over from this project. I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to do with these, but so they're in such large quantities, maybe I can make some cool socks out of them. I don't know. I'm not for sure yet. But I do have a ton of yarn left over from this shawl. So that is my Exploration Station. My next finished object are my vanilla socks. These were almost done last time. I just had to finish up one of the toes. So this is the just a vanilla sock knit out of Cat's Kettle yarn in the Reptile House colorway. Look at this speckly goodness. So, so pretty. I love it. And the contrasting color is Plucky Knitter Primo Fingering Base in the Ogre colorway, which is this awesome chartreuse green color. I love these socks, and I have a confession to make. So these were supposed to be a gift for somebody, and that person doesn't know I was going to knit them as a gift, so it's not like I'm a horrible, horrible person, but I really want to keep them. I know, that's so selfish, but I really, really like them. I know I can always get more Cat's Kettle yarn. That's not you know, an issue. So I really should give them to the person they were intended for. But I just love these socks so much. And I'm a Slytherin, and the colorway is called Reptile House, which is based on Harry Potter. So I feel like they were destined for me, right? Ugh, I'm having such a hard time giving these away, that's for sure. Some other specs on the pattern. I knit 75 rows for the leg, fish lips kiss heel, and it's a rounded toe. A round toe is what fits me best. After knitting a few socks now with the fish lips kiss heel, I like it because of how quick and easy it is, but I'm starting to wonder if the heel is really deep enough for my foot. So now that I've knit quite a few of the fish lips kiss heels, I'm going to kind of start thinking about, maybe not for my next one, but just on my radar to try out new heels that are a little bit deeper for my heel. But other than that, I'm in love with how these turned out. This yarn is so soft, you guys. So if you can catch a Cat's Kettle update, she's doing some really exciting things right now. If you didn't know, we're kind of friends, so I'm in the know on some of the stuff that she does. But just watch her space on Instagram. That's where she posts, and if you can catch an update, do try your hardest, because her yarn is like incredible. It's one of my favorites. There's not really a colorway I don't like of hers. So those are my vanilla socks. And that's it for finished objects in the knitting department. So now I will move into works in progress. I've started my own contribution to the Elementalong, and that is a pair of Woodland Tales mittens. Here's where I am so far. I'm using, the pattern, like I said, is Woodland Tales by Mandarines, Melody Hoffman. And I'm using Brooklyn Tweed Loft in the Camper colorway. I showed this last time on the podcast, but I can't remember if it was already kicked up and started or not. Either way, here's where I am right now. I didn't change needle sizes, and Loft is a fingering weight yarn. The pattern calls for DK. I'm not holding it double because Loft is, because it's like a woolen, it's kind of like a heavier fingering weight, really. But it is, I wish I did go down a needle size for the cuff part, because the cuff part is like a little bit, it's a little airy. I mean, it's a lacy mitten, so it's not like it's going to be the warmest mittens I've ever worn. But, I mean, I think it's okay. So far, that's what we're looking like. It's fitting. I'm knitting the small size. There are two sizes, a small and a large. So that's what that's looking like so far. I will say, I think the pattern is gorgeous, but it was a little difficult for me to understand some things. There are new techniques. I've never knit a mitten before. So there are some things that are new to me in it, and I had to read the pattern out loud in times to like go slowly, just try to figure out what it's trying to say to tell you to do, follow instructions instead of trying to like assume that I knew what it was talking about. So once I read those instructions out loud, for some reason the things I wasn't understanding started clicking. So now I'm kind of on my way. I honestly don't know if I'm gonna finish this in time for the end of the Elementalong, but either way I'm still glad that I started these, and I'm loving how they're turning out so far. It's fun to watch this grow because I don't really, it's when you're reading it line by line, it's like, how in the world does that make that leaf pattern? I don't know, it's really cool. It's like magical to see it kind of grow into this leaf motif that's happening right now. It's kind of hard to see really right now because I don't have a lot of it knit, but I'm excited about it. So that's my progress on my Woodland Tales mittens. My next work in progress is a new sock project. This is an awesome, look at this bag. Look at the fabric. These cats, this black and white fabric with cats playing musical instruments. I love this. This was sent to me as a gift a few episodes ago. I did kind of like a PSA on don't let other people's success determine how you feel about yourself and how you do or do not make things, essentially. Don't let comparison be the thief of joy. If you want to dye something, dye something. If you want to make bags, make bags. And that really seemed to strike a chord with a lot of you, which makes me feel really, really good that I could have reached you in that way. But one person in particular, who is Sue, she contacted me and said that that podcast episode really touched her too and inspired her to pick up sewing again, and she sent me this bag as a thank you. And thank you so much, Sue. I love this bag. I actually literally and truly laughed out loud when I saw this fabric. I just think it's so cute. So funny. Anyway, so I'm putting my newest sock whip in here, and it's not really a design project per se. I mean, I kind of have some ideas for socks I want to start designing, but this one is just like something I came up with in my head, but it sort of already exists. Not really, but you'll see kind of what I mean. So I'm using Sweet Sparrow yarns in the Secret Garden colorway, and this is on her tweed base, and I love the tweed naps in her tweed base because they're like a multicolor. They're like, some of them are brown, some are black. It's a very woodsy aesthetic. Gorgeous, gorgeous yarn. I've been waiting to cast this on for just the right project. Honestly, this has been sitting on my desk for ages, and I told myself I'm not allowed to cast on anything new until I finish other projects. Plus, I've been in a really big finishing mood lately. I've not been wanting to cast on a ton of stuff because I'm trying to finish whips that I have. I have this kind of idea in my head that I want to clear all my needles off, start, fall and winter right with fresh new projects, nothing that's kind of dragging me down or holding me back. I think Katrina's Cat's Kettle's Graveyard Cow from the Yarn 30 podcast also kind of influenced me in that way, just because I want to kind of get rid of stuff that I'm not interested in doing and finish the things I want to finish. But anyway, this yarn though is sort of an exception because I've had it sitting on my desk. It's been taunting me. I've been dying to knit with it. I just love Julie's aesthetic so much. She is an incredible dyer. There's not one thing that she has in her shop that I don't love. So anyway, back to the sock project. So this is Secret Garden. I've knit a 2x2 rib cuff, which is my cuff of choice. It's the most comfortable thing to me and fastest and intuitive to knit. So I'm finished with that. And I decided I wanted to do a cabled sock pattern and something with seed stitch. And what I'd like to do is, I'm not sure if this is what you're supposed to do as a designer. I don't care. Either way, it's whatever, who's gonna steal the secrets? I want to do a cable, a panel of seed stitch, and a cable facing one direction. So cable facing left and the cable facing right, whatever. So the cables are facing inward. I'll know it when I start knitting. With a panel of seed stitch in between. So that's basically the idea for this sock, but I just finished the ribbing. I started this on the way to Rhinebeck yesterday and had literally no time to knit while I was at Rhinebeck. It was completely unexpected. I thought there was going to be lots of stretches of knitting time, but no, it was completely busy. So I started this on my way to Rhinebeck yesterday and finished the cuff. So now it's time to get knitting on it. But the reason I say it's not a 100% my idea is because I felt like I had seen it before, and I went into my queue and discovered that there's a pair of fingerless mitts by Cabin 4 that is essentially the same thing. So I can't really call it my idea, but what idea is original anymore these days anyway, so I'm just gonna knit it. We'll see how it goes. But that's my new sock design that I'm currently working on, I guess you could say. And yeah, I'm really excited about it. I'm even more excited to finally get to knit with this Sweet Sparrow yarns that's been in my stash because I've been dying to knit with it. Sorry, I've showed you this cake a million times now, but it's so pretty and really, really soft. Really soft. So that's my sock whip. The next project I want to show you that's coming out of a sort of hibernation that it was in is my heady shawl. So like I said, I've been in a finishing things mode lately, and this is no exception. I didn't really mean for this to go into hibernation. It's just that I was running out of yarn. This was the last bit that I had, so I had to go buy more. So when Eric from the Sticks Plus Twine podcast came to visit me, we went to Brooklyn General and I picked up some more yarn to finish this, although they were still one skein short of this particular colorway that I needed. But this is the Heady Shawl by Isolde Teague. I'm sorry, I'm all tangled up in here. And I was inspired to knit this by Sarah of the Yarns at Yin Hu podcast, which is my favorite podcast of all time. It's an audio podcast available on iTunes, and you should check it out if you're looking for a new one. I love it so much. She was knitting this, and it inspired me to knit it because I looked up the pattern and I loved it so much. So what you do is knit the edge first, which is what I'm in progress doing here. So this is the center of the edge, and so now I basically have to do all this but on this side. And then once you're finished with the edge, you pick up the stitches in the interior and then knit the interior portion up to the top to make the full shawl. So this is knit out of Brooklyn tweed yarn in their Shelter base, which is their worsted weight. This is the Hayloft colorway. And the remainder of it is going to be knit, The interior portion is going to be knit in Postcard, which is this really pretty kind of light purple with purplish gray with pink flecks of tweed in it. So that's what the rest of it will be made out of. And I'm really excited, so that's something else I want to finish. After I finish this shawl, I've decided I really do not need any more shawls for a little while. I've knit a ton of them, not a ton, but I've knit quite a few of them. So unless it's a gift knit, I probably won't knit any more for myself for just a little while. I want to focus on other things like garments especially. I'm really into sewing, and I would still want to knit the Andawa sweater by Michelle Wong, and also the Inscribe sweater, and I can't remember for sure who designed that. I want to say it's Shelly Anderson, but I can't remember for sure. I'll put it all in the show notes for you guys to check out. But I really want to focus on garments. I have lots of shawls, so unless it's a gift knit, which I do have a couple that I need to make for some friends at work who really have hinted that they want one, and they use mine all the time. I have like 3 of them in my office, and we just kind of like grab shawls from my desk because it's cold in my office. So I know that they will use them. One that I have in mind in particular, the Wool Club, Verena, she recently designed a shawl, gosh, what's it called? Bumblebee. She designed a shawl called the Bumblebee shawl, and it's currently in test knit mode right now, but once that one comes out, I think that one will make a really excellent gift for somebody. So I want to knit that one. My sister has really, not even hinted, she's flat out like said she's gonna steal my void shawl. So at some point I think I'm gonna have to knit another void shawl special for her. And yesterday when I was at Rhinebeck, I could not stop touching the Woolfolk yarn. You guys, that's what I knit my void shawl out of, and it is 100% amazing. I want a sweater in it. I want to knit some mittens lined in Woolfolk yarn. I want to wrap in Woolfolk yarn. I just like want everything in Woolfolk yarn. It's not for everything. It does pill with a little bit of use, but it is the softest yarn I've ever touched in my life. So I love Woolfolk yarn. Anyway, going on a tangent here, all this to say, those are my works in progress that I've been working on right now. And now we'll move into the Spoolish Games section of the podcast, which is where I talk about my sewing endeavors. And I do have a finished object for you. I'm wearing it right now, and a lot of you have probably seen pictures of it on Instagram, perhaps even in person. Dun, da, 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 the Rhinebeck dress! So this is the Rhinebeck dress. This is the Rhinebeck dress, so I'm having to like back out of the frame and I can't really go anywhere, so I'm sure I'll insert some pictures here for you to look at. But I love it so much. It turned out exactly as I envisioned. Let me sit down again. It turned out just how I wanted it to. I'm so excited. The pattern is McCall's M6, let me look it up to make sure, M6953, and it's version D, which is the maxi dress. I did do a little video, kind of like a making of video, describing my experience shopping in the garment district, putting the dress together, and I didn't show the finished garment yet because I wanted to wait to show you guys on the podcast or for people to see it in person. But here it is, and I'm so excited about it. I love it so much. I did make a few modifications to the pattern. I scooped out the neckline. It was a high neckline, just to make it more my personal style. And then, what else did I do? I made notes. Let me look at this. Oh, it had, it was supposed to be lined, but I drafted a facing for it instead, using some instructions that I found on Colette's website. And then also has, the original pattern has a waistline that was quite lower, but I wanted it more high-waisted. Again, that's just something that's more figure flattering for my body, so I liked the higher waistline, so I made that higher. Some other things, there were some things I did and did not like about the pattern. Let me go ahead and give you some more details of it first though before I get into that. It features princess seams, which is a long curved seam that you sew into tops of garments to kind of fit the shape of a woman's body. It's for better shaping, I guess you can say. And long maxi has pleats in it. Let me show you the back. Not sure how much you can see. It has a gold zipper in it, which I love. Sorry, it's really hard and awkward to show you guys sewing garments. Now I know what everyone else goes through when they have to show these. But needless to say, I am in love with it. Some things I did and did not like. Let's start with the things I don't. The measurements of this pattern put me in 3 different sizes. So I couldn't really cut out one size, which I'm not altogether shocked about. It's a frequent problem for me when I'm buying pants that my waist is a lot smaller than my hips when it comes to sizing, usually in 2 different sizes. So I was really surprised though to see that it was my waist that was the biggest size of the 3 different sizes it was putting me into, and that my hips were a smaller size than my waist sizing was. Not in terms of actual measurements, of course, but by the sizing that the pattern was putting me into. And then my bust size was putting me into a pattern that was like 4 sizes smaller than the waist size that I was supposed to be. So it was kind of a challenge figuring out how to cut them out. And what I ended up doing was just taking the different sizes and like truing it up, so like making a curve toward whatever size it needed to be based on the measurements. I did not make a muslin, mostly because I just didn't have time to do it, but it ended up working out. The waist ended up being about 8 inches too big at first, and I had checked all the measurements, I checked what pattern pieces I cut out, and I have no idea really how that happened, but sometimes patterns are weird like that, you guys. You know, this isn't ready to wear garments. So luckily, being too big is a pattern that or something you can fix rather than something being too small. And then, let's see, other things I don't like. Oh, the shoulder seams, because I scooped out the neckline, it's not this kind of higher neckline. They don't meet exactly right there, so that's something I would like to fix in the future. And then the dress innards are not pretty at all. And I'll show you what I mean. So I did the hemming and stuff properly. This isn't, but the inside of the dress all has like these raw edges. And I guess I just expected the pattern to tell you, like, hem this inner seam, or, you know, or something to enclose it, like doing a French seam or something, you know, but it didn't. So it's not that, you may recall, some of you, that I kind of was like giving myself a pep talk that I need to stop cutting corners when it comes to finishing, and that wasn't what I was trying to do. It wasn't me trying to rush through this dress at all. It was just that I expected the pattern to tell me how to do that, and it didn't. So I'm not exactly sure how I'm supposed to go about doing this. Maybe with a serger, I don't really know. I mean, is it even possible to do that once the dress is finished, or is that something you do before you even start sewing the different pieces together? I don't really know. So that was one thing I didn't love about the instructions of the pattern, was that it didn't really tell you how to make the finishing its best, but there is a Craftsy class that I've heard of through Kristen of the Yarngasm podcast, and it's called Couture Finishing Techniques by Allison Smith. So I'd like to buy that class and watch that, and hopefully that will give me a lot of insight on how to make the finishing skills of the garments I make in the future the best that it can be. But I mean, other than that, there were still a few things that I really do love about this whole process and how it turned out. The side seams are a 100% perfect match, which was really exciting. The matching of the seams in general, I did discuss this a little bit in my making of the dress video, but it's probably because I took so much time and care prepping the sewing, washing my fabric first, drying it, ironing the pattern pieces even, as it suggests. I've never even heard of people ironing pattern pieces before, but it said it to do it in the pattern, so I did it. I took forever pinning out every single piece on the fabric on the floor. And side note, cutting out maxi dresses in a New York apartment, not really that fun. It's just like as much on the floor as I could possibly get. Cutting out really carefully with my rotary cutter, you know, so just like taking that extra time and care to cut out and prep the pieces as much as I possibly could made for a really great sewing experience, because everything was just lining up perfectly. And cutting out stuff is really not my favorite thing to do, especially when it comes to quilting. I hate cutting out the pieces. I just want to get to the sewing. But now that I see how much of a great experience it was to have these pieces that all like came together so nicely, I can see why it's worth all that time investment. Some other things. Sewing a zipper. This was the first zipper that I've ever sewn, period. And I didn't watch any tutorials. I just followed the instructions in the pattern, which were really, really clear, and it was a breeze. Sewing zippers is really fun, actually. I mean, made even easier by having an amazing new sewing machine. Well, not really new, but new to me, Bernina, which I inherited from my grandmother, and it has all these feet attachment in it, so I had the zipper foot. Yeah, and all that stuff. So I was really excited to be able to use that. I love the Bernina. I feel so fortunate to have inherited that from her. The way it just like zips over like all these layers of fabric like it's nothing. My machine would have like, it wouldn't, I mean, I am not speaking negatively about any kind of other machine. I use my same brother for over 20 years, so I'm not complaining at all. And the only reason I have this one is because I inherited it from my grandmother, so lucky me. But it did have its challenges to overcome in terms, you know, of certain quirks, which is fine. That's, you know, you just learn to deal with it. But I love the Bernina so much, so I'm so excited to have that. Sorry, just looking down at my notes, so I want to make sure there's nothing I forget to tell you. Adjusting the garment for perfect fit was such an enjoyable process. So even when it was too big, like just the ability to take it in, measure, make sure that I was making it fit to the best of my ability, and then just the wonderful thing that comes with making garments is that you can make it to your exact taste and specifications. The color of the dress, the scooping of the neckline, you know, that wasn't in the pattern, but I just traced a shirt that I have and really love, and boom, I have a scoop neckline. Having the gold zipper, I'm not sure if you can even see that, sorry. But having the gold zipper, like getting to choose your hardware like that. I mean, it's just a really cool experience to get to sew things that are to the exact specification that you want, rather than having to settle for something that has like 85% of the qualifications of something that you're looking for. So that's just like a really cool thing about garment sewing, and what really excites me about it right now. Besides all of the other really feel-good stuff about the time investment and feeling good about, you know, not ripping somebody off, you know, in some third world country who's been sewing for 10 hours a day and she's 12 years old, you know. So just like all of the feel goods. I love this dress. I love the way it fits. I'm just really thrilled and pumped with how it turned out, and I cannot wait to sew more stuff. So on that note, upcoming projects, I really want to make some leggings. I'm looking at the Manila pattern by Seamwork, which is one I already own, and then also, what is it called? Oh, Peg Legs by Patterns for Pirates, which Brittany of the Making Hour made a really cool pair in this like space spandex print, so I'm looking at that one too. I also want to make the Agnes top by Tilly and the Buttons, which is a pattern I already own. Not in here though, so I can't show you. I'll put in a picture of it here, but it's just, I have so many of those shirts and so many of them are dying, so it's time for me to buy some more. And then finally, I really want to sew Simplicity 1325. I have very few going out kinds of dresses. Almost everything that I own is very strictly work appropriate, and that's it. And I mean, of course, I live in New York City. I'm in, you know, my late 20s. I go out sometimes. So I really want some dresses that I can wear for going out stuff. And I love, with the exception of the pants in that pattern, every single pattern piece that comes with that and all of the things that it can make. So I'm really looking forward to getting that pattern the next time that I'm at a Joann's or something similar where I can buy patterns. And with that, I think that's it for garment making, but I do want to mention a quick quilt-along note. Many of you indicated your interest in having a quilt-along, so I'm pretty sure that's going to become a reality. So stay tuned for more info on that. If you haven't already added your interest and want to convey that, please comment down below that you are interested in a quilt-along if you haven't already. But right now I'm kind of in the planning stages of it, like what videos I need to make, coming up with a materials list for you guys, etc, etc. I just want to make sure that I'm producing things that are the best quality and information that I can so that you guys don't feel confused when you're watching them. So be on the lookout for that. So I'm really excited. Hopefully we'll get started on that. I'm thinking around mid to late December, potentially January, because I know that this time of year is already going to be kind of crazy to try to start something like that. In terms of me having to film all the videos, and then by the time I can film them and give them to you, it'll be like in the midst of December, so everyone will be kind of crazy with family and holiday stuff. So with that, that's the end of the Spoolish Games segment of the podcast, and now we're going to move into retail therapy. So as you may or may not know, I went to Rhinebeck this weekend. I had so much fun. However, I only somehow came out with one purchase, two technically if you count these 2 bars of handmade soap that I bought, which smell incredible, but aside from that one yarny thing, I went in with a plan too, you guys. I was allowing myself a sweater's quantity, a maximum of 2 special sock yarns because I have enough sock yarn in my stash. I really don't need any more. And then 3 special items. A special item could be taken really loosely, so it could be like sock blockers, which I really need right now. It could be an additional sweater's quantity if it was something really special. So kind of loosely interpreted, but I only bought 1 skein of yarn, and this is it. This is from Primrose Yarn Company, and the colorway is called In Between the Lines. And it's like this light pink neutrally base that has speckles, black, yellow, pink, orange. So I think this is going to be really pretty. I think it could work in a shawl as well as socks, but it will probably be socks. It's a very generous skein of yarn. It's 115 grams, so that's more than your typical 100 grams of sock yarn, and it's on her Luscious sock base, I believe. Yeah, Luscious sock, and it's an 80/20 superwash merino nylon. Somehow this was the only thing I purchased at Rhinebeck. I'm not sure why. It wasn't from lack of trying. There wasn't any one thing in particular that really called out to me that I needed, and I was looking for the sweater's quantity, but I just wasn't seeing what I was looking for. I guess I don't really know what I'm looking for, and I thought if I saw it I would know, but I just didn't see what I wanted. So I'm shopping for the Ondawa sweater currently, which will probably be my next sweater knit, but aside from that, that's really the only thing I got at Rhinebeck other than the 2 bars of soap that I purchased. So that's that. But I do have a couple other acquisitions. First of which I received this week. Oh gosh. Being a part of the Wool Barns newsletter updates is really dangerous because essentially she just sends out a newsletter when she adds more yarn to her shop. And every time I'm just like, oh, I'll go browse and I'm not going to buy anything just to see what's there. Every time I do that, I always buy something. And this time it was the Cozy colorway on her tweed base. It's so pretty. It's just like this light gray flecks of tweed. And I'm going to use this for... There it is. Going to use this for my Gladys socks that I'm going to frog instead of this gray right here, because this is not really work. The Patons Croix is just too thick for my taste. It's just not producing fabric that I like, even changing needles. So I'm going to rip this back to the cuff and then use this Wool Barn yarn. It's so soft. Lovely. So that sock is technically also a work in progress, but I haven't done anything to it yet, so I didn't show it to you earlier. Ooh, that light, it's blowing it out. But yeah, just a light gray with tweed. So that's another acquisition. And then, last but not least, cat sandwich fibers, you guys. I love cat sandwich fibers. MJ's yarn is so fun. You see now why I really don't need more sock yarn, but I really did need this. So it's like this pink peach base, and it has really bright green speckles of orange, hot pink, blue. There's more of the green. It's electric. This colorway is called She Ate All My Fruit Roll-Ups. And it's on her trusty sock base, 463 yards, 100 grams, 75-25 superwash merino and nylon. So, love this, love this, love this. Can't wait to cast this on into a really cool pair of socks. And with that, I think that's the end of the episode today, you guys. Hope you enjoyed. Oh, Rhinebeck. No, it's not the end. I need to tell you guys about Rhinebeck. It was incredible. One of the best days I've had in a really long time, and let me tell you guys, this past week has been shitty. It's been so bad. My phone broke, not my fault. No hot water in my apartment. Dipping my dress in toilet water one day. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. I just cannot even begin to convey how awful it was. Aside from that, Rhinebeck was magical. I didn't even get to all the things. If I had one regret, it would be that I stayed the whole weekend instead of just one day, because I feel like I didn't really get to check out more of the like farmer sheep kind of stuff, which I really wanted to see. I think that's probably why I held myself back from buying a sweater's quantity of anything, is because the stuff I went to, still really gorgeous yarn, you know, things like Into the World, Miss Babs, you know, awesome stuff like that. But I really want to knit my Andawa in something more rustic, I guess. I mean, I am thinking about knitting it in Brooklyn tweed. That is a consideration. But I really wanted to check out more of the, you know, local farmers and stuff. So that's probably why I didn't end up buying the sweater's quantity. But I just didn't get to that part of Rhinebeck, unfortunately. But thank you so much to everybody who came up and said hi to me. So many people were like, I don't want to bother you. Like, you're not bothering me, trust me. I was so excited to have met you. That was my #1 reason for going to Rhinebeck, not to buy any of that stuff. I kept even telling, you know, friends, like, I don't care if I even buy one single thing. It's the experience of being here and meeting all of you guys in person and having you come up and say hi to me. The podcaster meetup was incredible. Thank you so much for all of those such kind things that you guys said to me and about the podcast and loving it. And it's just, this community, you guys already know, we all talk about it all the time, but it really is the best out there. So thank you from the bottom of my heart so much for making my first Rhinebeck such an unforgettable experience. I already cannot wait until next year. Julie, the Sweet Sparrow Yarns podcast, or Sweet Sparrow Knits podcast, sorry. She and I are like already talking about how excited we are for next year. So thank you so much for making it the experience it was. And with that, I will now leave you and talk to you guys in a couple weeks. Until then, you can follow me on Instagram. If you liked this video, please hit like, and if you haven't already subscribed, please do. I will talk to you guys soon. Bye. Mwah.